Welcome in, Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing as we head closer to the playoffs. 10 games remain. These New York Knicks are making some history this season, and what a better person to talk to than none other than the one and only Bill Daughtry, the legend. Bill, it's always great to see you, but hope you're doing well, and how have you been?
CT, I got my oars in the water. I'm still paddling my boat. I'm doing all right. Praise be to God. And it is always an honor to be on this program for this fan base. I was talking to somebody the other day. It's hard to believe I have been retired from New York sports. It'll be 7 years in September. So anytime I get a call like this, I jump at it.
No, we can see the passion. You've always got things to say. That'll never change, and I'm glad that you can share that on this platform as well. And as we just talked about before coming on, the chat, the viewers, they love having you on as well and interacting and hearing your thoughts on the season, right? It's been a quick season. It's been a long season, though, in terms of the grind, the injuries, the ups and the downs. But we sit here, the New York Knicks head to Texas after picking up a huge win, the biggest win of the season, 145 to 101 against the depleted Raptors. We'll talk about some of these remaining games and the X factors for you coming up to the playoffs. But what have you seen since we last spoke?
Well, it's just hard to watch blowouts of non-playoff teams, and this is the time of the year in the NBA. Never buy a ticket for an NBA game after the All-Star break. Just don't do it. Particularly in the month of March. Don't go near the NBA. Wait for the playoffs if you're lucky enough to score tickets there, because that's when everybody will be at 1,000%. Everybody will be, playing for something. But right now, I mean, man, it's another 23 days to the end of the season. Last night, we watched Toronto, total destruction. Game before that, they blew out the Detroit Pistons, the worst team in the league. Those games are hard to watch. What everybody is watching is the injury report every day because they want to know. OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, both are out for tomorrow's game at San Antonio, so we can get to that right away. But it's been nice to see the development of Deuce McBride. He had 29 last night, 6 threes in the first quarter, and you thought Dante DiVincenzo's 11-3 record was in serious jeopardy, but Thibodeau pulled him out after he had 9, after the New York Knicks had the game beyond in hand against Toronto. 29 points last night. Knicks' fourth win in 5 games, 7 of their last 8. They were incredible from 3 last night, shooting 50%, 22 of 44 from 3. Clyde said it repeatedly during the broadcast. They're getting whatever they want. They're getting whatever they want. They're getting whatever they want, which is pretty much the case the other night, the night before against Detroit. They were getting, Pistons weren't working to close out on threes. They just weren't. It's that time of the year in the NBA. So, bearing all that in mind, counting down to the playoffs, they're 23 days away. 23 days away. Is that enough time to see if OG Anunoby is going to be ready, if Julius is going to be ready? I think OG will be ready. I think he'll be ready probably for it. I would not be surprised if you just see OG Anunoby in the last 2 games of the regular season. That's against the Nets and the Chicago Bulls. There's really nothing to play him for. I mean, what's the difference between second and third except for your seeding? You're not getting a bye. You're not, and when you get to the playoffs, and I know everybody's been watching intently. Knick fans have been all over their team. But my question to Knick fans is, can you win a playoff series playing 4 guards and 1 big? I mean, aside from Cleveland, which just shows you how much they shrink when it matters most. And I don't know, maybe they reversed the trend this year. But the last time the Knicks saw them, they didn't have Randle, they didn't have Anunoby, and they went in there and wrecked the joint. Jalen Brunson got hurt in the first minute of the game, and they still dominated the Cavaliers that night. That tells me all I need to know about them. But the bigger question is, I mean, what's the prize is you got to beat Boston, you got to beat Milwaukee. Who knows? You might even have to see Embiid against Philadelphia. And the Knicks, even though they beat Philly last time, Philly made it uncomfortable when they went with a lineup of 4 bigs and a guard, which is counter to what the Knicks are doing right now. The Knicks have gone from being that bully ball team with Randle and Brunson. They've gone from being that to being a 3-and-D team. They live and they die by the three-pointer now. DiVincenzo has no conscience when it comes to shooting the basketball. Not calling him a shot nut, but he has no conscience. None. No remorse, no regrets.
As says Monty Williams.
It's hey. Ball's going up when it gets in Zero's hands. So, I mean, enjoy what's going on now. Enjoy the last 10 games of the year. Me and my wife get into this all the time. You know, she says, you're not excited about the Detroit game? I said, no, Detroit's the worst team in the league. Toronto is not much better. So, no, I'm not excited about those 2 games. I have a minimum of excitement about tomorrow night. You know, Victor Wembanyama is the show. And it's going to be interesting to see how much Mitchell Robinson plays against Wemby tomorrow. He had 12 minutes last night, 8 points in 12 minutes. I thought that was unusual for Mitchell Robinson. But it was good to see him back. I wasn't sure he was coming back. Had surgery in December and is back on the floor in late March. And it just makes you scratch your head and wonder why Julius Randle didn't have surgery as soon as that shoulder was separated back on January 27th. And is this not like what happened last year when he wrecks the ankle against Miami, tries to play through it? How'd that work out? So this is 2 years in a row where it's been injured Julius Randle going to the playoffs. And that's coming off a year prior where he disappeared in the playoffs against Atlanta. So again, Julius Randle having a marvelous season. Marvelous. The 30-point games, the double-digit rebounds, the double-doubles. I mean, everything. And he was back to living in the paint, as opposed to the 2021 season where he was more of a perimeter player who got into the paint. But now he has become that power forward, and he gets undercut on the drive to the rim, and his season may well be over. I think his regular season is toast. I don't think, Knicks fans, you see Julius Randle before the second round of the playoffs, if you see him then.
I think a lot of sentiment is growing in terms of the thought of Randle, you know, being saved until the playoffs. You know, he's shooting around, but he's not taking full contact yet. He's taking control contact. And yeah, it would be a shame if he's not ready by round 1, but we could still get through to the second round, of course. We'll talk about who are the big X factors as well heading in. But you struck a point with the 3-and-D-ness of this team now, reliance on the 3-point shot. That's what allows this team to score 145 and Deuce McBride shooting 6 threes in a quarter. I mean, does that remind you of any Nick of the past? You know, have you seen Deuce McBride's emergence now stepping in to play next to Brunson?
It's interesting that he reminds me a little bit of J.R. Smith. When J.R. came back from China, they really couldn't figure out, okay, how do we want to do this? And then once they got him in a role and figured out that he's going to be a valuable sixth man, he was on fire, and most nights he was just too tough to stop. But again, in the case of McBride, you're rolling 2 6'1" guards out there. And then you got a 6'5" and a 6'4" and a big. And if the big is Precious Achiuwa, you got an undersized big. And again, night in, night out, you can get away with that in the NBA. You can win with that. But when it comes to a playoff series, when guys start attacking Deuce McBride, when all of a sudden that left wing three ain't open for him no more, you're not going to see numbers like you see arrayed on that screen right now. You're not going to see that. He's made tremendous improvement, tremendous strides. But again, the playoffs, people say it all the time, it's a totally different animal. And it is, because it's not one and done. You got to beat a team 4 times in the postseason. 4 times to advance to that next round. And in getting to that 4, you find a lot of points of attacks. You find a lot of deficiencies in your opponent. You find things that you can do with regularity. And if you have size, as Milwaukee and Boston do, and I'm not saying that either one of those are perfect teams, because a couple of weeks ago, I was crowning them as the cream of the Eastern Conference. But within the last week, both have suffered disgusting losses. Celtics blowing a 30-point lead in Atlanta. And then explain to me how the Lakers, without LeBron James, go into Milwaukee. Bucks are totally healthy, and they come back from a 19-point deficit to beat the Bucks. So neither of those look like championship teams. But again, that's one and done. One night, one game, move on to opponent. Got to do it 4 times in the postseason. 4 times to win a series. And I'm not sure that the Knicks have the requisite size to take on that heavy load.
16 games to that chip, right? And we'll talk a little bit about the similarities with 99 and a potential pathway to the magical finals run. But Tom Thibodeau is the key for me, Bill. He's shown a lot of things this season in terms of trust with different lineups. Precious has come in. There's been new players come in throughout this season as well. But he's really allowed McBride to thrive. But I agree with you in terms of OG and Randle still hold the key to the Knicks getting as far as possible. The size will matter against a lot of teams. Orlando, I said specifically, they've got Paolo, they've got the Wagner brothers, the size with them, and I do think Miami, of course, they're going to be physical and bruise you up. Ideally, Hart playing the 4, it's not what I would want to see in the playoffs, but hey, the shooting is there. If the Knicks can get hot, they can win, those series easily. But it comes down to, I guess, getting Mitch back. How much of a factor do you think he is? And now that we're on Tibbs, how do you see Tibbs approaching the first round series, assuming OG's back, but Randle isn't?
If OG is back, whether Randle is back or not, if OG is back, he sets a totally different tone on defense. He gives the Knicks another big, and he hits open threes when he has them. Doesn't handle worth a daggone, but that's all right, because most of the time he just goes and stands in the corner, and he'll come in and he'll rebound, put back. I'm good. But if the Knicks don't have either OG or Julius Randle, I don't think it's going to make a difference. I don't think it's good, because they will be so vastly undersized. I mean, who are the bigs right now on the Knicks? Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson's back, Precious, everybody. What's the first thing you talk about with Precious Achiuwa? Undersized. He's playing big, though. He's playing big. And you get 45 off the bench. That's it. That's it. Is that going to be enough to tangle with the Giannis's, the Portis, the Lopez, And what the heck? I mean, while we're at it, I mean, go up to Boston. All of those guys, they've got bigs. They've got bigs, and that's something that I just don't see the Knicks going far in the playoffs unless they have that guy that's on the screen right now, OG Anunoby, 100% healthy, 100% able. If they don't at least have him with the other bigs that I mentioned, I don't think the Knicks will find their way to the second round. I really don't.
Yeah, I could see that. I think defensively is the key. OG more so stopping the wings, and for me, obviously the guys who have hurt us before we got OG. We went on that huge run, as we just talked about, Bill. We're 14-2 with OG and Randle, 15-2 with OG and everybody else. But Paolo Banchero had his way before we got OG in the building. Giannis was killing us in the play-in tournament as well. But yeah, we were just talking as well. OG, is ruled out for tomorrow. If those that don't know, I'm not worried in terms of the first round. I think OG will be back for that game, but there is some concerns. If he was to get another bang, we saw that video or the photo, Bill, surfacing, that it looks like the elbow still has that swelling.
It looks like a chip is still in there. It looked like they missed one when they were cleaning it out. I mean, come on, man. And that's got to be painful. It's got to be painful. I was surprised to see him shaking hands with people last night in Toronto. It's like, oh, gee, get off that elbow, baby. Fist bump, whatever, hug, but stop that shaking thing, And to me, he's the linchpin. He is the linchpin. He takes their defense to a different level, even more so than Julius. And I think it's interesting because we've talked about Julius's playoff shortcomings. We've talked about him. OG Anunoby, when the Raptors won the championship a few years ago, he had the appendectomy. Everybody talks about that. He was in uniform, but he was unable to play in the finals against the Warriors. Still got a ring, is still an NBA champion, but he's got that itch. He's got that yearn. He's got that drive to get back to what he had to miss the first time around. And it says here, and I'll say this again, I think OG Anunoby is more important to the short-term success of this New York Knicks team than Julius Randle is.
Big time. Obviously, the record speaks for itself, something like 300 plus above, plus minus, and we'll talk about that. Jalen Brunson, though, plus 400 on the season. But yeah, the chat's asking Bill a couple questions. How far do you think the Knicks could go without OG and Randle if we were to get the second or the third seed? Do you think it's a second round max?
I don't care what seed they get. The Knicks will wind up with the number 1 seed, which is impossible because Boston's already clinched that. But the point is, they aren't going to go very far running 4 guards and a big in a best-of-7 series. They're not. I mean, physically, Josh Hart has some great games rebounding in the basketball. Some great games rebounding. He's put up some triple-doubles based on his rebounding ability. Had 10 assists the other night, last night in Toronto. And that's not to sell him short. But to do that night in, night out, or more specifically, game, day off, game, day off, and you're playing 40-plus minutes, you're going to wear down. You're going to burn out, especially if you're going against bigger guys. It's just a mathematical impossibility to sustain that over a 7-game series. Maybe I'm missing something. We can talk about heart. We can talk about desire. When I say heart, I mean heart, H-E-A-R-T. We can talk about desire. We can talk about no quit. We can bring all the intangibles you want. But when you get down to the physical mathematics of this thing, I don't see the Knicks being able to sustain through 16 wins. That's 4 series with 4 guards and a big. I just don't see it. You're asking too much of these guys.
Well, there's some adjustments. You mentioned Precious Achua possibly playing the 4 a little bit if OG is hampered or in and out. Now, as a 4-man, Precious can give you the rebounding, some rim protection, but not as adept offensively as a Randle or an OG, and without the 3-point ball as well. And look, I always say, Bill, every year it's matchup dependent. There are some more favorable matchups for the New York Knicks and some matchups like some teams I mentioned before. Who for you could you see as more of a favorable matchup? Maybe Philly without Embiid or a hampered Embiid. They like to run and gun, play small as well.
Philadelphia and Cleveland are the 2 favorable matchups I can see for the Knicks. Everybody else is going to be a problem. Everybody else. And the only reason Cleveland is favorable is because of their success against Cleveland. I think the Knicks are in Cleveland's head. I really do. I mean, the last time they were in Cleveland, Brunson gets hurt in the first minute of the game. And you're already down Anunoby and Julius, and the Knicks nailed the Cavaliers. Yeah, I get it. Donovan Mitchell wasn't playing that night and whatever. But the Knicks are without their 3 most important players, and you couldn't beat them at home? Really? So I think they're all in the gray matter, the Cavaliers. I really do. So Cleveland, I think they could handle. Philly with Embiid, and this is going to be an interesting 23 days for him. Because you got to get, the chemistry thing, that's not an issue. I don't think it's an issue with the Knicks because these guys have played some together. So it's not like they just made a deal at the trade deadline. And I see my man Howard Lieberman saying the Pacers are not an issue. You better think twice about that. Pacers can run you out of the building. They really can.
I've got to disagree a bit with you there, man. I think they like to play fast, and if
they do,
if you can slow them down, such as they do in the playoffs, then can Pascal Siakam shoot the ball? Do you trust him in the half court?
Here's the thing. I don't disregard the Pacers. They've got a coach with a championship pedigree in Carlisle. He knows how to adjust. He knows how to get things done. And how different will they be in the postseason? I'm sure they're going to be able to slow down enough to compete. But again, I don't put the Pacers in that be an easy win category. I just don't. Because they are long, they are fast, they play like a bunch of greyhounds. And again, if you don't have the requisite bigs to slow them down, to keep them off the boards, to control the tempo of a game, they're going to be a handful. They're going to be trouble. I really believe that. The Knicks need to get bigger, period. They just do. And if that's getting OG Anunoby back, if that's getting Julius Randle back, if that's some kind of miracle that restores Mitchell Robinson to what he was back in November, I got it. But I don't think any of those 3 things I just mentioned are going to happen. The Knicks are who they are now. With OG, I give them more than a fighting chance. With OG, I put them ahead of a few teams. Without OG, I don't see them. I would not be stunned if they got knocked out in the first round. I would not. Because, again, it's not 1 game. It's 4. You got to win 4 times. Teams figure stuff out.
Look, yeah, the playoffs, a lot of teams do need the respect because they can formulate their plan, their schemes to take what the Knicks like to do out of their hands. I don't want us to be too reliant on the 3-point shot. Although I do feel a lot more comfortable now, Bill, that we have, the shooters coming in, and we have some guys that are in good form shooting the rock. But Bogdanovic, question marks for me over, whether he'll get any playoff burn, just because of the defensive side. I think Tibbs will go back to what Tibbs likes in terms of an 8-man rotation, possibly 9, with the ninth guy playing very, very minimal minutes.
Yeah,
It just
Jericho
depends.
Sims, he'll be the ninth guy.
It depends on the health, obviously, as well. As you said, can OG play 35? I mean, the condition that elbow is in right now, it's a real concern. But we do have 23 days, 10 more games. Fortunately, the Knicks are 44 wins now, and probably 6 more wins, 7 more, will get us that. Will guarantee the 4th seed, maybe get us the 3rd as well, which is going to be key. But we'll get to everyone's questions as well. I'm starring the questions, and we'll get through them as well. But I just wanted to ask you, Bill, about Tibbs this season. Is there anything you could see him changing up? Have you been surprised by anything? Have you liked what you've seen from Tibbs this season?
Tom Thibodeau is an extremely talented coach. He's one of the best in the NBA. Everybody talks about the level of preparation he has for each and every game, and that's not going to change in the playoffs. What will change is the physical condition of his team. And that's what you really, really have to focus on. That's what you absolutely have to focus on when you talk about Tom Thibodeau. The way he runs this team, again, how many times have you heard you pick the commentator, whoever, or you pick the commentator, you pick the network, whoever. But how many times have you heard someone express concern about these guys are going to have nothing left in the playoffs? They're playing 48 minutes, 45 minutes, 43 minutes. They're getting burned out there every night. And that's what he does. And that's how he's successful. But again, come playoff time, not only is that incredible workload going to catch up, I think, but size is going to become a factor. It is. It absolutely is. And if you want to go back, and talk about the Indiana Pacers, ask yourself this. The Knicks 100% healthy are a better team than a 100% healthy Indiana Pacer team. You get no argument from me on that. None. But right now, Halliburton's hamstring is doing just fine. Knicks are the team that's not 100% healthy. The Knicks are a team that, in my mind, they're not even 85% healthy. Indiana can beat that Knicks team. Indiana can beat that Knicks team in a best-of-7 series. I'm just looking at the comments, the chat. Thomas Banks played for me in bag of shells. Yeah, that was a little phrase here. He played for me in the Pelham Park Babe Ruth League. And we had a run, man. As a matter of fact, Thomas Banks is one of the most valuable players, so I will not cast him in a bad light. But our starting pitcher in the championship game, kid named Omar, breaking ball pitcher. He was nasty. He was great. We were playing against Rye. I'll never forget this. We had knocked Portchester out. If we beat Rye, we're going to the Junior Babe Ruth World Series. I think it was in Hawaii or something that year. And Omar is he's handling Rye, and then all of a sudden he starts getting hit. I go out to the mound. Omar, what's going on? Coach, I feel a little dizzy. And I look, and the kid's got a bee stinger hanging out of his neck. Take him out of the game. I'm not going to identify the relief pitcher, but he didn't have the movement on his ball that Omar did. He had velocity, but he didn't have movement. And Rye beat us in that game. I think the score was 7-5. And that stopped us from moving on. But see, small things like a bee sting. But Thomas Banks is one of my best players. I remember his mom, very nice lady. She was kind of like our unofficial team mother. But Thomas, shout out to you, bro. Miss you too. Hope you're doing well, and hope you're. I don't know if he's in the Bronx or not, but we were in Co-op City back then, long time ago. Long time ago.
Yeah, no, represent. Appreciate everyone coming through. It's a star-studded chat right now. I recognize a lot of faces and names.
I tell you something. If I could go to my closet for 5 seconds, I would pull out something that would bring tears to Thomas Banks's eyes.
Yeah, we can do an intermission. And yeah,
Wait,
man,
hold it. I'm gonna put my headphones down. Hold on 1 second. Watch this. You're gonna like this.
yeah,
Thomas
you're good.
Banks is gonna love this.
Yeah, Bill's had a throwback. Appreciate Thomas and everyone in the chat coming through. We've got plenty of questions we'll answer, and let us know what you
All right,
want.
I'm back. Thomas Banks has one of these. There you go. With the junior Babe, with the Babe Ruth League baseball, Co-op City Rangers. That's who we were, and that was me, the manager, number 56. Thomas remembers this jacket. This jacket's been a lot of places, and we had a lot of success.
Howard says Bill couldn't hit.
Who said that?
Howard said that the Heather curveball killed it on the roof.
Oh no, I loved the curveball. It was that good fastball that ate my lunch. And I found out soon enough. That's why I do this. This is why I did this for a living for a long time.
Yeah. What did you think of the Bogey Burks trade when it was made? Us buzzer beater. Did you think anything of that at the time?
I thought it was a great trade because it gave the Knicks shooting. It gave the Knicks shooting. But of course, when Randle goes down, now this whole thing is just like askew. It's changed. And of course, this trade happens after Randle goes down. Let me be correct with that. But Randle leaves, and it just changes the way that this team plays. And as it's turned out, Bogey and Burks are just an extension of what they already have. Bogey doesn't play big enough to be that 3-4 guy. He's more like a 2-3. And then on the flip side of it, in all fairness to him, in Detroit, he was a starter. Most of his career, he's been a starter. He's not a come off the bench guy. He's not a 6-man kind of guy. And so it takes him a little while to get into the rhythm of the game, to get into what he needs to do in the game. And by then he's missed 2 or 3 shots, and it's like, ooh, here we go. So I don't know, does that dynamic change? I don't know. Does Thibodeau allow it to change? Because he's riding these 5 horses. Or I should say the 4 horses in a big. He's riding them as far as they can go each and every night.
All the way.
At some point, he's going to catch up.
Well, you know what he said about Deuce McBride? He's rested. He hasn't played much of the season. He's ready to go 49 minutes if it goes to OT. I mean, and look, I actually prefer that over Bogdanovic. The thing I agree with your point about Bogdanovic, we don't need him really anymore. It's funny we say that because when the trade happened, I loved it as well. But with Deuce has stepped up with the shooting, DiVincenzo now, I mean, well, at the very least, with Burks and Bogdanovic, you can only really afford to play one of them, I think, in a playoff game. Really, you're not playing both of them. And we needed both of them at the time because bodies were falling.
And who's the guy that he trusts? Burks. Who's the guy that's more versatile in his mind? Burks. So, I mean, it wouldn't stun me if either of those guys, not both, but one of them, if come playoff time, they just totally fall off the face of the earth. They disappear. And I'm saying the smart money says it's bogey.
Well, winning habits, right? When have either of those two been in a deep playoff run or in a meaningful game?
The thing is, for Bogdanovic, I mean, he's been to the playoffs, and much was made of this when the Knicks made the deal. That he's been to the playoffs a bunch of times. I think like 12 times in his career. You know, and he came close once, got to a conference final, but he's still got that itch. He's still got that burn. And after a couple of years of being in Detroit, he's ready to get back in the saddle again. But his play hasn't translated to that, at least not in the night in, night out format of the regular season. Don't discount, don't downplay the fact that playoffs are different. They really are. They really are. If somebody comes out and hammers you and drills you in game one, you got to figure it out quick. You got to figure out how to stop that real quick. Otherwise, guess what? You're going to have the same problem in game 2, 3, and 4.
Well, that's why I got mad respect for the Heat. I don't want to see them in round one. And if it's a 3-6 matchup with the Heat, we take it. But I would prefer to play some other teams. I think Tibbs can coach circles over Bickerstaff. I think you can outcoach Carlisle as well. You could outcoach Philly's coach as well. But Spoelstra, as you said, he's the master of adjustments. But I'm going to back Tibbs in this one. He's impressed me this season. He's got an A for me. I love to die for his point about due to injuries, we've had to reinvent ourselves like 5 times or more this season. And look, if we do finish in the 2nd seed, I think he should be considered for another Coach of the Year award with all these injuries. But to Bill's point, again, I'm with you 100%. It's all about the playoffs, baby, because we saw it last season. The Heat can knock off the top seed, right? All it takes is players to get hot or good coaching.
I mean, if you just have to look at what Miami did last year. Everybody had a Boston-Denver final. Miami said, not so fast, and then made the finals interesting.
Yep. Now, we're going to get to some of these other guys as well, and I want to get your thoughts and continue to get through these questions. Let us know, guys, if you want any questions out there answered by myself or Bill. Of course, Brunson's had a huge season. We talked about him. He's plus 400 on the season.
And he's officially in contention for the MVP award. He played in a 66 game last night.
Yep.
So he can win it. I doubt that he will, but he can win it.
This man, Isaiah Hartenstein, Mitch has just returned, right? But where would we be without him? He's a plus minus of plus 335 this season. He's a free agent, Bill. What do you see happening?
Isaiah Hartenstein's a backup center. Best case scenario. He's done a great job this year. He's had a career year, so to speak. But there are just too many times and too many moments when he does not fill the bill. No disrespect. Like I said, he's had a great season. He's a great backup center. He was pressed into service. Again, look at how many Knicks this year, because of increased minutes, are having career years. But in his role, Isaiah Hartenstein's a backup center who has above average passing abilities in the high post. He's a good rebounder. He's not a great shooter. He's not. We've all seen him miss a lot of bunnies this year. A lot of putbacks that should be in. We've seen some dumb fouls out of him this year. He's a backup center. And again, like Deuce McBride, teams are going to plan to attack him in a playoff series. They know what his weaknesses are. They know what you have to do to go at Isaiah Hartenstein. Just like Mitchell Robinson being back. And boy, I'm really interested to see how he's going to play against Wembanyama tomorrow night. Because Victor ain't one of those post-up guys. He's all over the freaking place. And the best Mitchell Robinson, when he's got to move, not great. He's not great. Booker and Mitchell is get him 15, 20 feet from the basket. He's yours. You can do whatever you want because he's not going to be able to catch up. And I mean, again, Hartenstein having a great season. You see it. Almost 10 rebounds a game, almost 10 points a game. He has stepped in very nicely and done a very nice job. But 23 days from now, it's going to be the start of nut cutting time. Is that the guy you're going to be able to trust? I mean, you're going to trust him because you have all year long. But he's not a difference maker. And this is the time of the year you need difference makers. And right now, the Knicks have one healthy difference maker. And they're keeping their fingers crossed that the elbow of their second difference maker acts the way it needs to act so he can be ready to go 23 days from now when it matters most.
With Isaiah, obviously we signed him as the backup, right? But he's shown he can be a very capable starter in this league, and I think some teams will look to bring him in based off the play. So moving forward, would you still try to keep him and Mitch together, or do you see a world in the summer where it's ideal to prioritize one of them over the other?
I'm not so sure he's my priority in the offseason. First thing I'd figure out is OG Anunoby. He's playing for a contract. I think in any conversation, in any discussion you want to have about the New York Knicks, OG Anunoby in the pecking order is more important than Isaiah Hartenstein. I'm not saying he's worthless, but by the time you get to that in your pecking order, unfortunately, Knicks don't have they don't have a whole lot of decisions to make. They got to figure out if they're going to trade for another star. They got to figure out what their draft situation is going to be. Take a look at free agency. And I mean, whatever happens with Isaiah Hartenstein, I think will happen later than sooner because the Knicks have other priorities. And to me, priority number one is OG Anunoby. You gave up a couple of young players and a draft pick to get this guy here, and he's a difference maker on your team. And now you got to get that elbow right. So 23 days from now, you can reap the benefits of what you traded for. You can reap the dividends of what you traded for him for. To me, he's mission number one in the offseason. Isaiah Hartenstein, he's down the ladder. I'm not saying he's not important. He's a backup center. You can get another one of those.
Yeah. I would obviously hate to lose him, but agree with you 100%. OG has shown he's, outside of Brunson and Randle, the second, third biggest difference maker on this team, right? Taking into account, guys, he's only played 16 games, right? Or 17 games. He's 15-2. So in 17 games, he's plus 100, plus 289. That's insane in terms of what he's able to do. Howard's mentioning in the chat about Tatum being a little soft, right? OG is the great neutralizer for any of these stars, right? Jimmy Butler getting, a bit older. OG is the perfect matchup for Giannis as well. Who else are we going to, guard Giannis with this guy as well? But Tibbs, we know he's going to love to play him a lot of minutes in the playoffs as well. Wait and see. The elbow still got to settle down. But I said at the time, Bill, I was glad he did the surgery, because imagine if he did not do the surgery, it would be season over. It would be like back and forth. Is he able to go this game? Is he not? Dealing with the soreness and all of that.
Which is kind of the situation with Julius Randle. If he had the surgery, I don't know that surgery was an early option. I don't know. I'm not in the Knicks training room. I don't have those discussions with the Knicks doctors. I don't know if the thought was from the outset, let it heal. I don't know if you've ever dislocated a joint before. Now, I was very young. I dislocated a knee. Fortunately, I didn't tear any of the tissue around it. They popped that bad boy back in. It hurt. It was swollen for about 2 weeks. I was much younger then. So I got right. Now you're dealing with an injury that was ghastly to see it. When you saw it, when it happened, you knew, okay, this is going to be a couple of months, and hopefully nothing is torn in there. That it's taking this long. I'm not a doctor, and I don't play one on TV, but that it's taking this long for him just to get to full practice. It's been 3 months now. It's been almost 3 months now. And he's not practicing yet. Tibbs is, he's painting a pretty picture. But again, there had to be some strains in there, which are smaller tears, which has really delayed this process. And I maintain if you see him again this year, if you see Julius Randle again this year, it'll be in the second round of the playoffs, not before.
Yeah, I could see that. I could also see a scenario where they're holding him out to the very, very end of the regular season, and then they do that contact, and which is still a risk because you still need to see how he pulls up, how he handles it, but you're at least eliminating the risk of anything happening prematurely with these meaningful but meaningless games for Randle in terms of us already, very close to locking up the fourth seed. We take care of a couple of these games. And we've got a few questions coming in as well about the future with these guys. And I'm not worried about this season so much because, right, it's potentially a year ahead of schedule. Yes, I want us to go all the way as I'm putting my NBA Finals cap on.
I see that.
It's a 1999 party.
That was the last time.
Yeah. Where were you in 1999, by the way? I want everyone in the chat
Square Garden
to tell us when the Knicks were going on that run. Right, where were you?
I was in the building. I was in the building back then.
When H2O hit that that shot in South Beach?
Now the shot that you're talking about, the game was in Miami. I was not on that day, but I specifically remember being on westbound Route 22, just outside of Hillside, New Jersey, listening to Gus Johnson on Knicks radio make that call.
Yeah, that's it. And the LJ 4-point play, some people say to this day, is the loudest MSG has ever been. Maybe some people in the chat, I know maybe Howard was in the building.
Well, here's the thing. I was in the building that night. It was late in the game, so we were getting ready for Sports Desk. We were anchoring Sports Desk that night. And there's a group that comes into Madison Square Garden several times a year, a group called Fish. And our studios were located on the fourth floor. We were one level down from the main arena. And when Fish played, when they did their concerts, you could feel the building shake. You could feel the walls of the building shake. Well, that night when LJ hit that three and was fouled, it was like a Fish concert. Building shook. We felt that downstairs in our studios, in our newsroom. Building shook.
Like a quake.
Oh man, I've been more scared in other buildings. The Brendan Byrne Arena, the Meadowlands Arena where the Nets used to play. I was in there one night for a playoff game, a hockey playoff game between the Devils and the Capitals. And it was a back and forth, up and down game. I think the game was like 11-9 or something like that. That was the final score. But the Devils scored a goal to take a late lead in that game. And we were up in what they call the halo, which was like on the 10th floor. Man, I thought we were all dead. That goal was scored, I think it was Sundstrom or Sandstrom or somebody like that. And the whole building went wooba. The whole thing, you felt like, ooh, it's like, oh, thought we were going to be down on the ice, but didn't happen, thank goodness. But that was the most afraid I ever was in a building where a professional athletic event was going on. The Spectrum in Philadelphia is a close second. I don't know if people know this, but in the old Spectrum, the visiting radio booth literally hung from cables from the roof. And you could only get 12 people in there. So you could get in there. We were in there one night for the Flyers and the Devils. We didn't have any moments where the whole thing shook, but knowing that you're in a box being held by a couple of cables is a little bit disconcerting for about 3 hours.
Yeah, so many stories to come from that year, and I'm channeling it because the Knicks have the best pathway to the finals, injuries permitting, and I hear what Bill's saying in terms of, needing these two key pieces. We need to see more of them, and we'll mention two names that we talked on just before coming on air, but we've got a poll happening on a scale of 1 to 10. Let us know how concerned you are about OG for the future, and that could include, paying him the full max. That can be concern a level about him willingness to be durable, play a lot. I think it's a huge trade, and it's changed the ceiling of this basketball team. But your best ability is your availability. And two names we just talked about before coming on, guys, with Bill and myself, was Patrick Ewing and Bernard King. Two players that would have delivered a Knicks one of these, I think.
I think you should ask everybody, how many games did they play together?
Yeah,
King and Ewing. How many regular season games did they play together?
How many games did Patrick Ewing and Bernard King play together ultimately? And whilst I don't hope this happens with Randle and OG, they have not played much together.
Well, AP is asking the Antonio McDyess question. I was never a McDyess fan because he liked the Washington Redskins. True. I wanted him to have a successful career with the Knicks, but by the time he got here, there wasn't much left of his knee. I don't think OG's injury is anywhere on that level. I think that he had the surgery. And again, it's a very important joint in your body, this thing right here. And it takes a while for it to heal. I don't know if you ever had a bad bursa in your elbow. That thing swells up, and that takes like 2 weeks. And that we're not even talking surgery. They might drain it. Okay, so now we're getting into the skeletal part of things. Bottom line is, I think OG will be fine. Again, I don't think you're going to see him until the last two games of the regular season. And after that happens, then we'll see. Is he ready for the playoffs? If he has a great playoff, of course, priority number one is to get him signed to a long-term deal.
Yeah, amen. And we can reveal Patrick Ewing, Bernard King. How many games did they play together, Bill?
0. Because remember, Bernard King wins the scoring championship in 84-85. Knicks draft Ewing. His rookie year is 85-86. He was the year after Jordan and those guys. And when Ewing is drafted, Patrick is still rehabbing his knee. And Bernard missed that entire season. So now we're in 86-87. Hubie Brown gets fired 16 games into the season. King is still rehabbing from an injury that a lot of people thought would end his career. Fortunately, it didn't. And so Patrick Ewing plays his rookie year, and he has a knee injury that sits him out March 19th till the end of the regular season. He injured his knee against Washington, injured his right knee. It was a sprain. And so the Knicks shut him down for the rest of the season. But then in April, Bernard King comes back and plays the last 6 games of the regular season for the New York Knicks. All losses. Bob Hill is the coach of the team by now. And then, of course, at the end of the season, the Knicks say bye-bye to Bernard. Patrick is the big kid on the block now, the new guy on the block. So they played a grand total of 0 games together. 0.
Well,
Randle and Anunoby, they had 14 games together. I don't know if they're going to have any more, but we'll see.
All I care about is playoff games together, really. I mean, this squad is so deep that we can, as we've proven now, we can take care of, regular season stuff, man. But it's the 16 games to get to this that all I care about right now. We fell short in 99 due to injuries and also issues in 97 with the suspensions. 94 came within the fingertip with Hakeem the Dream. But yeah, some great questions also coming through. We'll get to all of these now. We'll probably go for another. You good for another 10, 15?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yep. I love the interaction, guys, as well. Smash that like button. The streets are buzzing. And I've started a lot of these questions. But the first one I'll hit on now, Bill, from AP, salute. Big fan of us and yours. Do you think Brunson, with this particular group, will be the one to bring us the one chip title in the coming years?
I think he'll be here when the Knicks do win. To answer your question as directly as I can, I mean, look, he's the engine. He's the guy. He's what makes this team go. Period. End of story. And if the Knicks are going to win a championship in the next couple of years, it'll be with Jalen Brunson in their backcourt wearing number 11. Yes.
Yeah, agree. And I'm going to say within the next 3 years, right? I'm going to condense it to that kind of period, and I think, we're getting ever so close. Great question from Buzzer Beater about potential big man Jonas Valanciunas. Would you trade X player for him? He's everything that we could use and shoot outside if he's healthy as well.
I've never been a fan of big men on the perimeter. Just not that guy. I mean, I get it. If you have that in your arsenal, that's fine. But I need a big man to be mobile enough to get in drop defense. I need a big man to be mobile enough to get back that 12, 15 feet in the painted area from the free throw line and be a defensive demon, even if he has to cover somebody like a Brook Lopez who loves to play on the perimeter. Valanciunas, could he be the replacement for Hartenstein? Be an upgrade. But he's not a guy that I'm looking to get me to that next level. He's not. I mean, he could be a nice piece, but I'm not kicking anybody's door to get Valanciunas. No.
I like his game, but I think the salary will be the issue. I think he's on something pretty substantial, and it'd be interesting to fit that in with this next question in mind with OG, right? In terms of a contract, do you see it as a formality, Bill, and they work it out, and then we deal with any concerns?
Who are we talking about now?
OG.
I think OG is going to be the linchpin of this offseason. I really do. again, because the Knicks made a big expenditure for him, he's paid off in a big way in that small sample that we've had. We see the difference that he makes. Yeah, I don't know what the number is going to be. I really don't. But from their past history, their recent history, the Knicks have signed good free agent contracts. They've done a good job. Randle wasn't a free agent, but still, that's a good contract for them. It's a great contract for them. Brunson's contract, another one. It's a great contract for them. They were able to trade R.J. Barrett. Great contract for them. It was a deal. It was something they could move. So I don't see Anunoby breaking the bank. I don't see him restructuring the salary code at that position. And I think he and the Knicks are going to find something that's going to work for them unless somebody just comes in and just blows it up and blows it away and makes OG an offer he absolutely can't refuse.
Yeah, I see it as 90% done. Leon Rose's son is the agent. We know what we're getting into this relationship when we traded for the man. We knew the contract situation, but great question. Appreciate everyone's questions coming through. Shout out to Felicia, also said that Bernard King and Ewing didn't play together in 84-85, but possibly played 6 together in 86-87.
Did not
Right.
play any together. 84-85 was the year that Bernard won the scoring championship and wrecked his knee. The following season was Ewing's rookie season, and Bernard did not play.
Okay. I appreciate everyone on that because I need you for that info. But also Michael's asking, who would you like as a backup with the defense and offense of the Big H?
That's hard to say. At this point, look, my focus is the next 23 days. That's all I care about. I don't care about whose contract. I don't care about anything. And I'm pretty sure the guys in that locker room feel the same way. When you are this close, when you are in this position, you ain't thinking about contracts. You're not thinking about what's next year's roster going to look like. None of that is on your mind. You're trying to figure out a way to catch the 46-26 Milwaukee Bucks and then progress in the playoffs. Who's healthy? Who can play? How are we going to play? Who are we going to play against? That's all that's on your mind at this point. That contract stuff, that's way out over there somewhere.
Yeah,
not a factor, not a concern right now. Nobody's thinking about that.
Yeah, we're getting to the real business side. All the work the players and the coaches have put in the summer, the season, it's all been to get to this point now, and we're so close. We could really make some big noise. 10 more games remain. And of course, I did mention this, Bill, with these last few games, especially Boston in the third to last game, they're 8 games clear. They've got nothing to play for in that third to last game. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Mazzulla doesn't give us any bit of Tatum, Kristaps, Brown, maybe even a little bit of the first half, and then he's not gonna let the New York Knicks get a look for that. So the Knicks could have some wiggle room where we manipulate where we get to finish and get the favorable matchup.
Again, Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics, their work is done. They've done everything they can do with regard to the Eastern Conference. What, number 1 overall seed? Well, last time I checked, 57 wins. That's the most in the league. So they're going to be the big dog. So for game 79, I believe it is, Knicks are at Boston. It's going to be, like I said, don't buy tickets to NBA games in March. Just don't do it. And people keep going back to this. I see Vaughn Allen, Patrick Ewing, and Bernard King played together in 6 games during the 86-87 NBA season. They did not. because by the time Bernard King got back for the final 6 games of the 86-87 season, Patrick Ewing was shut down. He was shut down. He had a sprained right knee. Suffered it against the Washington Bullets, as they were back then.
Not
They
the
shut him
Generals.
down for the last from March 19th until the end of the season. Roy Johnson wrote a great story on it in the New York Times. You can look it up.
Well, I'll say this to both of you: if it was 0 or it was 6, it was not
Wasn't
enough.
Wasn't enough. Bob Hill will tell you that.
Yeah. Uh, in terms of where we get to, Tibbs is obviously we've talked about him, but there was a question whether you were surprised by anything Tibbs has done this season in terms of adjustments from buzzer beater.
No, Tom Thibodeau is one of his great strengths as a coach, in my opinion, is he gets his players to buy into whatever it is they have to do to win a game. No matter who's available, no matter who the opponent is, no matter the venue, he gets his players to buy in. And I think that's his greatest strength as a coach. Look, there's some guys that you're not playing unless there's an injury. I'm going with this group. Now, group, this is how we're going to go about it. This is what we're going to do. This is how we are going to do it. Because team X, Y, and Z, player X, Y, and Z, they do this, that, and that. We're going to do this, this, and that to upset what they do. We're going to give them something that they have to solve because we got it figured out already. And when a coach comes at you like that, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it, you believe it, especially if you win doing it. And we've seen what the Knicks have done 44 times this year.
Yeah, it's literally a chess game, really. I compare it to like therapy, where all your weaknesses are laid out, bare on the table, exposed to the national audience, in this one, because it's coach picking apart, hey, I can get you here, you can get me there, who can ultimately win that battle. But yeah, Tibbs, he gets an A for me. I think this is the best season he's had with the Knicks with all the injuries, but I also going to say it's the best roster he's ever coached, obviously when fully healthy. I put this ahead of the Bulls roster in terms of talent that got to the Eastern Conference Finals. So Tibbs will get extended. I don't see any hiccups there. Do you see that to be true?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, the Knicks are from top to bottom, from the highest front office down to the last man on the roster on a two-way contract. They are a group. They are all on the same page. They are one. And that's hard to beat. That's hard to beat in any sport, in any league, in any venue. When they come in as one, from the two-way contract at the bottom of the roster all the way to the top man in the front office and the management team, when they come in like that, they are hard to beat. And this group, no matter where they finish, no matter where they go, they are together. They are about as tight as any group, if not tighter than every group in the NBA. Their pieces fit, their dynamic works. Now all they need is some health. I mean, look at if you want to contrast the Knicks, look at what's going on in Phoenix. Frank Vogel,
Been
great
watching.
coach. Defensive-minded coach. His whole career has been built on defense. Indianapolis, Los Angeles, and now in Phoenix, where he has three of the best offensive players in the game, and they are struggling. They are scrapping mightily. Look at Golden State. They're not on the same page. They're in serious transition. And what happened with Draymond last night, I don't know. A lot of people think that might have been the final nail in the coffin for this team. They won the game. But that environment that they're in, that they exist in right now, it's disjointed. It's uneven. Klay Thompson's coming off with the second unit, which he has been most of since the All-Star break, and they function pretty well. You know, people want to talk about the Lakers, but I think they're about as tight as the New York Knicks right now as a team. Milwaukee, they're still in transition. Boston, they still miss Marcus Smart. That's the difference in their team. They need that kind of guy, a Pat Beverly kind of guy, somebody who is going to challenge those stars.
Yep.
The Brown and the Tatum, they need somebody that's, Al Horford's not that guy anymore. He never was that guy. But when he was younger, he could, But they need that clotting agent, that thing that's going to pull them together. And that's something that the Knicks have. That's something that the Knicks have over most teams in this league. You're not going to find a tighter knit team, a tighter bonded team. That's a plus. But I go back to their lack of size. Best of 7, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, well, it's a different kind of NBA now than it was in 1999 when the Knicks really needed LJ healthy, Patrick. I think the Knicks and the NBA shooting game, as we saw the Miami Heat get hot, the Knicks have a great chance, regardless of the injuries. This is our best chance at making more noise, right? And a couple more before we wrap up. Robert's asking Bill, who's your favorite all-time Knick? I think I've asked you this once before, but
number 10.
let us know.
Period. Full stop.
And guess when his birthday is?
Clyde's birthday, I think, did it pass already? It's coming up.
Tomorrow.
Clydey, happy birthday, brother. That's my man. I've known Will Clyde Frazier since I was 14 years old.
Yeah,
I can tell you how I know him because you don't like that story no more.
Okay, maybe we'll save that one, for
Clyde's my man.
But shout out to Jay Boogie as well, friend of the show, who dropped the Clyde Frazier anthem as well. I don't know if you've heard it, Bill, but
no,
we will. We'll get that out there as well. I haven't got it with me right now, but Jay Boogie did drop the Mike Breen anthem, bang. But you can check out. Yeah, you can check out Jay Boogie's Walt Clyde Frazier anthem. I'm going to post the link now and get that up there. AP's
I wonder if Breen was inspired by John Witherspoon with bang. You don't know what I'm talking about? Go look at the movie Boomerang.
Yeah, I've seen it. AP's asking Woody or Tibbs. Who are you taking if you had a choice? Mike Woodson or Tibbs?
I'm a Woody guy, and nobody is going as far as Woody since Woody. No disrespect to Tibbs, but Mike Woodson had him right there. I don't know if Tyson Chandler had figured out a way to do the right thing against Indiana. It might have been a different story that year.
Yeah, that still scars me to today. But yeah, that Pacers team was tough. It wasn't skilled. It was gritty. With David West, Roy Hibbert, who couldn't throw the ball in the ocean.
Please.
He just needed to stand at the rim. It was probably a 3-second count. If I go back and look at it.
Here's when I gained total respect for Mike Woodson. He was a teammate of Ray Williams, and he was one of the driving forces in James Dolan totally taking responsibility for Ray's funeral cost and funeral services when he passed away some years ago. But the real Mike Woodson popped out in a post-game news conference to me. They were playing the Orlando Magic, and I can't remember the player's name, Mo somebody. He was from St. John's. He's a kid. And that night, Tyson Chandler worked him over. He had like 20 and 14. And Mike Woodson in his post-game news conference, he said, that's what Tyson should be doing every night. Every night, playing like an all-star. I said, that's a call-out right there. That's a call-out. He banged up the young guy. But hey, Tyson, how come you can't do that every night? You do that every night, we're champions. And that's when my respect for Mike Woodson just went to a whole different level.
Yeah, he did. He got the best out of this squad, and like you said, I'm hoping we can get better. But yeah, to this day, we also posted the link. Walt Clyde Frazier anthem, J Boogie. Check it out. Click the link. It'll be in the comment section as well. And Howard seems to know you intimately.
Yes.
He's asking a question, and I'll bring that up.
Okay.
Ask Bill if he dated a girl who loved the Temptations.
Yeah, he knows that story. He knows that story. He's down there in Florida. He's instigating. That's my man. Yes, I did. That's the answer.
And we love a bit of back and forth.
Well, Vaughn wants to know where I grew up. I grew up in Mount Vernon, New York.
What is one place you haven't been able to visit that you would love to visit?
Well, all the places I want to go start with the letter A. And now there used to be 3. Arizona used to be on that list, but yeah. There's some states I'm not going to, and that's one of them. Alaska and Africa. And I had the opportunity to go to Africa a couple of years ago, but then old man COVID came to town and just canceled everything. Vaughn, I was born in Harlem. Vaughn Allen, I was born in Harlem, but I grew up in Mount Vernon, New York.
Yep. Like AP said, I really thought Phil Jackson was going to bring some success as well, but that just goes to show, regardless of what you've done in your past, right? It's about the present, the future as well. There's been some people brought in outside of the organization that have allowed things to work out. Want to give Leon Rose his flowers because, talk about a guy who didn't have anything connected to the Knicks. It was the best hire Dolan's made, I feel, in a while. And of course, shout out to William Wesley and Gerson Rosas, who have been helping Tibbs, and as you said, they're all they're together in.
They're tight, yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard Rosas is a little bit of a different kind of bird, but that's okay. They were all pulling the same rope. That's what's important right now.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Phil Jackson, he set the Knicks back like 5 years. He really did.
It should have been a coach or nothing deal.
That's it.
Like, just coach, don't hire Derek Fisher. Or if you were going to hire someone, your top target, you did not land, which went on to win multiple championships in Golden State.
All I've got to say about Phil Jackson, 2 words. Frank Ntilikina.
Man, at least he didn't hire David Fizdale, though. Or did he? Yeah, because that was...
Frank Ntilikina. Period.
Awful sign, awful draft pick. We had a question about the draft, but I know what kind of Bill's going to say with that. we'll take care of that in future episodes, and we'll be doing some draft content because the Knicks have the Dallas pick. We have our own. If there's an area of need that you could see, Bill, the Knicks adding a younger player that maybe could fit in, impress Tibbs, get some minutes.
I'm not
Which
thinking
area
about
could
it
you
right
see?
now. I'm just thinking
Yep.
about 23 days to the playoffs. That's all I'm
That's what
thinking about. 23 days to the playoffs. Who's going to be on the roster? Who's going to be ready to go? The Knicks are that close. This is the closest they've been since Woody.
Yep. And we saw Patrick Ewing get some love at MSG the other day. Would love us to bring Patrick back. As all the fans, we always talk about it. Pat, come back. Let's hope that happens.
What are you going to have him do? What are you going to have Pat do? What's going to be his role?
Well,
he's not going to be on the bench.
No, he won't be in the coaching capacity. But if Starks, LJ, if they're all the alumni, PR people, why can't there be a place, or at least invite Patrick back to the Garden more regularly?
Do you think he wants to do that? I don't know.
Well,
I haven't spoken with Patrick
a
in
year
3
ago.
years.
I would have said no, Bill, but then I saw him happy with his daughter, his family. He looked to be really enjoying the vibe, and being back in the Garden. As you get on in life, you start to maybe mend fences. You appreciate some things that maybe didn't work out earlier. Maybe there were some egos at play, but maybe now's the perfect time to get him at least back more regularly. But we'll wrap this up. It's been a great show, and we'll no doubt be talking real soon because the big time New York Knicks basketball is back. There's no place in the world like New York when the Knicks are great in the playoffs, and the city is going to be buzzing.
Well, I tell you what, if they get to the second round, I'll come back.
You got a deal because they'll be in the second round.
Okay.
Right? I'll bet you on that.
Okay. Second round, I'll come back. We'll talk about the Knicks going forward. But the next 23 days are important because you got to see what the state of OG Anunoby is going to be. And again, I don't think he plays another game until the last 2 games of the regular season against the Nets and Bulls, both at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, I don't think that's a hot take because there's only 10 games left, and the elbow looked like a golf ball.
Yep.
The other night, and so I think that's a smart decision. Let's see. But when you do come back for the second round, you got to bring more jackets.
I got a Knick jacket I can show you next time.
Okay. Do you have anything signed with Clyde? If Clyde?
No, I do not.
Do you have a jersey? Anything?
I do not. I think I got him to sign one for my son a long time ago, but I never really placed a premium on that kind of stuff. Although I do have a couple of Hank Aaron autographs, one on a Braves jersey. It's just been hanging in my closet. I've been threatening to get it framed for a long time, but I think that day is past now. So
nice.
I'll pass it on to my son.
Any quick words on the New York football teams for those that need some spirits uplifted?
I'm with Tiki Barber. And my daughter actually ran into Tiki in a store a couple of days ago at the Starbucks counter in the supermarket around the corner from where we live. And I'm with Tiki. Saquon, you're dead to me, man. Out of all the places, hey, I get it. I even know why. I can understand why he went to Philadelphia. Family considerations. He ain't got to uproot and all that kind of stuff. But damn, that's going to be 10 games against the Giants, and believe me, he's going to be healthy for all of them. Yeah, I know he signed a 3-year contract, but you watch, he'll be in Philly for at least 5 years. Watch.
Well, hopefully he's not at his best. That's all I can say.
But no, he's going to be beyond at his best when he faces the blue team. Just understand that, okay? understand it.
Yeah, but any hopes for the Giants and the Jets? Can they make some noise?
I'm just focused on the next 23 days. Got to get OG ready for the playoffs. That's all I'm waiting. That's all I'm focused on right now. Get OG ready for the playoffs, and then let's go get him. Whoever it is, let's go get him.
You and me both. Well, yeah, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Bill, and yeah, a lot of people giving us and you their gratitude to hear you speak again. Always great to see you, and let's talk soon.
Is that it? Is that did I get that right? Is that contemporary enough for you?
Looks good.
That's how I feel about it.
Thanks
you.
everyone, and let's get to the second round so we can talk again. Go
Looking
Knicks.
forward to it.
Yeah. Peace everyone. Out.
Thanks.